Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for this event as well. First of all, I'm Dulip Tillekeratne. I represent the GSMA. I'll try to cover my topic in 5 minutes so that we can take a couple of questions also after Paul, but just to say, I was really pleased to go second or third actually after Lars Peters and Lorena, because they provided a really nice context for me to share some of the thoughts that I wanted to share as well. So the GSMA is the Mobile Industry Association. So we work with mobile operators across the world. So about 750 mobile operators are members, and we also have associate members who are technology partners. And within our work, we try to understand the role of mobile technology in various aspects. And particularly in my work, I belong to the Mobile for Development division of GSMA that is part of the GSMA Foundation. So what we do is we try to understand how mobile technology can bridge the gap in development in low and middle income countries. And when it comes to climate resilience or climate adaptation, currently we all know that we have been given a red light, right? Globally, we have been given a red light, and we are now at a kind of extreme climate risks, stresses, and shocks, which we are facing across the world. So, and the other logic is we know that almost more than half or almost 3/4 of the world, people have mobile phones in their hands, right? So even in locations where the national grid hasn't reached, the mobile network has reached. So how can that mobile phone be converted into a device that provides weather alerts or disaster alerts is something we are very interested to look at. So I thought I'll share 3 quick snippets or experiences or examples, and I can share those on chat as well, because I feel this is a very rich conversation, so I don't want to take too much time talking, but happy to hear others' thoughts as well. Because I highlighted the mobile industry or mobile technology would be critical in connecting people in times of climate hazards, we set up something called the Mobile Humanitarian Connectivity Charter, HCC, Humanitarian Connectivity Charter, which looks at bringing mobile operators together to understand how the industry can play a role during crisis situations. So one of the examples I wanted to give, which is well connected to Lars Peter's examples as well, we try to work with the 2 mobile operators in Nepal, slightly away from Africa at the moment, but to say Nepal is a very a mountainous country with a lot of rivers, and because of that, they face a lot of floods, right? So the mobile operators help the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology in Nepal to set up IoT sensors in the high-level rivers. So what happens is whenever there's higher rainfall in the mountain areas, the gauges would indicate this, and then it will help the Department of Hydrology and Meteorology to send alerts to the community in the downstream areas where the floods are, there's high risk of floods happening. So you can see the mobile operator played the role by providing the connectivity for these sensors, and worked also in partnership with the Hydrology and Meteorology Department. Similarly, what we have done at COP26 last year is to launch a innovation fund on climate resilience and adaptation, which closed last 23rd January. And I'm kind of happy to report that at the moment we are reviewing applications of these technologies, areas where innovations have been used to use technology to bridge that gap, to use awareness or capacity building for farmers or other communities who are highly dependent on rainfall And without the ability to have what's the rainfall or have any forecasts or access to that piece of information and guidance. So how can technology bridge the gap? So I feel that that gap highlighted by the WMO, we can have an opportunity with the private sector working with some innovations to bridge it as well. So the final example I wanted to share is something that has been discussed for a long time, and we've tried out in the last couple of years. So this is about commercial microwave links. For in layman's terms, you would know there are two mobile towers side by side, and these mobile towers communicate with each other through microwave links. And we know for a while that when there's rainfall, there's a disruption or there's a change in these microwave lengths, and this can be monitored. So this has been discussed for a while and has been kind of an academic topic. So recently, we have tried to work with mobile operators in 3 countries. So one in Nigeria, we have also looked at Papua New Guinea and also Sri Lanka, where I'm based, to see how we could monitor this change, and by understanding these changes, whether we can use it for something. So the recent reports that we published, which I can share, the results have been to a certain level conclusive to show there's high similarity of what we could gauge from the CML or commercial microwave links to the actual rainfall level. And this could then be hopefully used in certain scenarios where individual operators or countries would want to use it in different ways. For example, in Nigeria, they are already setting up pilots with different rural farming associations and organizations to see if this data can also be provided to the farmers to make informed decisions. Slightly different in Digicel in Papua New Guinea. They want to look at using this information for weather alerts or alerts on floods or other hazards. And finally, in Sri Lanka, again, I heard something that last speakers mentioned is about the insurance factor. So they are trying to see whether this could be linked with some of the meteorological information and also create a kind of insurance solution for farmers. So I guess the message is very clear. No technology can operate alone and solve all the problems. So we have to work together. So these kind of forums are the forums that bring us together, and we have the ability to put our heads together and see what we could do. I might have kind of stepped over my 5 minutes, so sorry for that, but happy to answer any question on chat. But before that, let me take a few seconds and share all the links with you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Dulip. And I guess I have a question. I see some comments that are coming from Peter Larsch in the chat, stressing on this importance of the role of the private sector. But I also think there is, beside the 3 areas or 3 examples that you have mentioned on Nepal, Nigeria, and Sri Lanka, there is also one of the major issues also with the meteorological infrastructure and data sharing is the issue of connectivity. Like in many cases, we struggle that we pass the data on a timely fashion. And as you know, weather and climate services are really a time sensitive commodity. If it doesn't come in time, they would be no use sometimes for them, or the usability or the utility will decrease. So I think, how can the mobile companies, maybe this is an area also the mobile technology could come in to help in the transmission of the data? How do you see a role on that?
Yes, absolutely. So thanks very much for the question. Maybe I'll look at it in 2 ways. One would be something we have seen in Nepal, where some of the weather stations do have the challenge of not being connected. So they use, actually, they post the rain gauge data through snail mail, right? So these kind of challenges are there on connectivity side. So some of the mobile operators, by partnering with the meteorology departments, create an opportunity to share data or connect Met departments or centers to centers, which is already happening in a couple of countries. That's one side. But I think your question was more broadly on overall connectivity side as well. So I guess that brings us to a longer conversation about how we could look at expanding that connectivity to areas that's relevant for meteorological predictions as well. So we haven't gone into that broader kind of universal coverage discussions yet in many countries that I've seen, but I can give an example where we were discussing in Pakistan a couple of years ago, where the mobile operators are bound by the universal service provision to low or rural areas for towers. And in these cases, we were trying to work with the Pakistan authorities who look at this rural coverage to see how can we set up these towers in areas where that would make sense or make it relevant for the weather stations as well, so they could be more connected. So yes, there are many conversations to be had, and as Lars answered in the previous question, they're very country specific, and these conversations also become very kind of national. So yes, if there are examples that you would know, or where there are kind of efforts being raised on this way, I'm very happy to know and link some of my colleagues in GSMA for these projects as well.